All right, let's solve a common household mystery. You know, one of those things that looks like a huge problem, but is actually, well, it's just some really cool science in action.
So you've probably seen this, right? You walk into a garage or an attic, and there's an air conditioning duct just covered in water droplets. It looks like it's sweating. Now, your first thought is probably, oh no, it's leaking. But what if I told you the water isn't coming from inside the duct at all?
That's right, it's not broken. That moisture is actually a clue. It's pointing to this invisible force that's happening all around us, all the time. It's the same thing that causes dew on the grass in the morning or the fog on your mirror after a shower. And this quote right here, this gives us the key to cracking the whole case. It all comes down to two little words: dew point. And no, that's not just a term for the weather report. It is the absolute core concept that explains everything we're seeing.
So yeah, that's the whole game. Once we really get our heads around what dew point actually is, that sweating duct is going to make perfect sense. It's like this invisible tipping point where the air just can't hide the water it's holding anymore. Okay, so let's get into the science of it, connecting the cold and the warm. How does this actually happen? Well, it all comes down to a simple, let's call it a meeting between the super cold air inside the duct and the much warmer air in the room it's passing through. So you've got this tale of two temperatures. On one hand, you have the AC duct, which is basically a metal tube filled with frigid air. And on the other, you have the room itself, full of warmer air that's holding all this invisible water vapor. It's the perfect setup for, well, a scientific reaction. And this is where our key term, dew point, struts onto the stage. The dew point is that magic number, that exact temperature where the air is so full of moisture it just can't hold on to another drop. Think of it like a sponge that's completely soaked. You can't add any more water, right? It has to let it go. When air hits its dew point, all that water vapor it was holding turns back into liquid. So here's the play-by-play. Step 1. The really cold duct chills the thin layer of air that's touching it. Step 2. This rapid cool down causes that little pocket of air to hit its dew point. And boom, Step 3. Since that air can't hold its moisture anymore, the vapor condenses into actual liquid water, right there on the duct surface.
And there you have it, our big reveal. The water isn't leaking from the duct, it's being pulled directly out of the air that's all around it. The duct is just the cold surface that kicks off the whole process. Mystery solved. All right, so now that we know the science, why does any of this actually matter? This is where it gets really practical, where this knowledge becomes super useful. You're going to see this happen most often in what we call unconditioned spaces, places without their own AC. So think about your attic, your garage, maybe a storage room. These areas have that warmer, often more humid air, which creates the absolute perfect conditions for condensation when a cold duct runs through. And honestly, that's the real takeaway here. Understanding the dew point is like having a secret decoder for your own home. You can start to see why moisture pops up in unexpected places. And that's important, because constant dripping can lead to mold or water damage. Now you'll know, hey, water on a pipe isn't always a leak. Sometimes it's just physics doing its thing. So, we've totally cracked the case of the sweating duct, and all it took was understanding one simple scientific principle. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other everyday things are being shaped by these invisible forces that we just haven't learned to see yet? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.